Matt. Well, we're back again. Um, Fantasy championships are mostly over, I think, unless you're playing in week 18 like
It's a wrap
me
for
for
me.
some reason. But yeah, I was able to win one league, got second in another. Actually I got second in two, but I won one, but it was
Ouch.
like the least important one. So I still have one more that I have to play in next week. So I
We
guess
did
I'm
pretty
still
good.
tracking.
I
Yeah.
won one. I got third in one. And then in ours, I got fourth because stupid Wade's team went off. So couldn't
Yeah.
even get the bronze medal.
Didn't get the money back there, huh?
Yep.
Um,
Thanks a lot, Brees Hall. Bum.
well, lesson learned about drafting Jets, I think, moving forward. But anyway, Matt, yeah, it was a big week for a lot of teams. My team got some good news there. And just in general, the AFC picture, NFC wildcard picture as well. A lot of good games in this one. So yeah, Matt, I think, well, unfortunately, your team was not involved in any of that because they were eliminated from the playoffs last week. But I guess since, we don't have to drag out two season recaps in the same episode, potentially, I don't know. I'm still holding on to a little bit of hope, but just in case it does end next season, or sorry, next week for the Dolphins, I'll let you go ahead and get your season recap off, I guess you could say. Um, so yeah, Matt, unfortunately, season's pretty much over. I mean,
Pretty much over. It is over.
okay, well, I mean, you still technically have one more game to play, so that's,
Yeah.
but yeah, playoffs are out. Looking to the offseason essentially in the draft for the Cowboys. So it's all about securing draft positions. So hey, Cooper Rush was able to get you a better draft position. Um, even though he had a bad game playing wise, it was good for the long term success of the team. So even when he's losing, he's still helping out, Matt,
He's
right?
still winning.
He's
He's just a
still
winner.
he just finds a way to help the team, just a
The
team guy.
ultimate team player. He should win the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Yeah. But yeah, Matt, why don't you I'll give you the floor. You can vent out your thoughts, whatever frustrations you might have on the season. So take it away.
Ooh, well, this is a very different feeling of a season recap because the past 3 years, it was heartbreak in the playoffs, pretty good regular seasons. This one or this year was just, after this, really the second week of the season, after we got blown out at home by the Saints, it was really all downhill from there. There was a little bit of false hope when we beat the Giants and beat the Commanders, that maybe we can sneak in. And I was holding out hope, but that was squashed pretty quickly. Uh, but overall, if I had to give like a letter grade, probably this is me being pretty generous. But I'm gonna go with a C minus. And the only reason why I say C minus is the benefit of the doubt. This team was ridiculed by injuries this year. Dak Prescott, season ending injury. Deron Bland started the season, missed like, I don't remember the exact amount, but 8 to 9 games to start the year. Trayvon Diggs has been in and out of the lineup, so that's already two top corners. DeMarvion Overshawn, as we learned a couple weeks ago, he tears his ACL. He was probably our best player defensively this year. Micah Parsons had an IR stint. Demarcus Lawrence was injured early, has still not returned yet, and he obviously will not with one game left in the season. Zach Martin, I can just keep going on and on with these injuries. The only guy that really hasn't gotten a significant injury in terms of a star is CeeDee Lamb, but he's been shut down, obviously, since we've been eliminated from the playoffs mathematically. But even him kind of played through a bum shoulder the entire year. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt with the injuries. But overall, terrible, terrible season. And it really started, and we talked about this really throughout the entire season, I would say, with season 4 of this podcast. Jerry just did not make any moves in free agency. We're coming off a team. We get blown out at home in the playoffs by Green Bay. And that should be, in a sense, a wake up call to any team, to a coach, to a GM, to the players. It's like, okay, it's embarrassing. How are we going to prevent this from happening again? And it starts from the draft. It starts from, actually, I should say it starts from free agency and then the draft. So you can't just be Jerry Jones and be thinking, oh, well, I'm going to be cheap and, we're just going to nail every single draft pick and we'll be fine. It's not how it works in the NFL. You're going to swing and miss on some guys and, you got to live with that, which means you're going to have to cover up some holes with free agents and talking about guys that that can plug and play. We made one acquisition that was not a re-sign player in terms of a significant move, and that was Eric Kendricks. Now, he had a pretty slow start, played a little better later half of the season, but that's it. I watch all these other teams. I mean, your team was pretty active, at least in free agency, adding a couple key pieces here and there. But it's not even about throwing like big contracts out. It's like you can do these mid-tier signings that it's like, that makes a huge difference in terms of the success of a team. We just didn't do anything. That's the problem. So it's like we're stuck with that. We didn't have a good draft, I think. I mean, maybe outside of, Lou Fowl this year. Tyler Guyton, pretty, I would say, down rookie year compared to what we were, I guess, lucky with Tyler Smith a couple years ago. He panned out to be pretty good. But Tyler Guyton struggled. Cooper Beebe, kind of another roller coaster there. So, there's a lot of things that we didn't really hit a home run on. So that, with the lack of moves we've made, you're just putting all your pressure on Dak, on CD, and on Micah to just say, hey, you guys are the leaders of the team, the stars. Like, you need to do it all yourself. And sometimes, to the players' credit, it's hard to do that when you don't have the necessary help. So that's pretty much the summary of the season, because you go into Mike McCarthy, it's like, well, CD, he did great. But I would say in the first half of the season, when we were kind of, fighting for our lives, treading water, even when Dak was hurt, he wasn't really, he didn't have that big game like how he had the previous year, where he was just setting every single record possible as a receiver. I think teams were starting to figure out, like, hey, we take away CD, we can live with Jalen Tolbert and Brandon Cooks, trying to cover them one-on-one, Jake Ferguson. So going into this next season, I would almost have to think Dallas does something to give CD some kind of Robin on the outside. I saw, maybe I'm a Twitter sucker, but I did see T. Higgins and CD. Someone photoshopped that. That would be pretty lethal, not going to lie. But I don't think Jerry's going to pay.
There it is.
Yeah, that's the problem. Jerry's not going to pay for T. Higgins. But even if it's not T. Higgins, I think you have to address that part of the offense. But, I would say bright sides of this season, maybe Cooper Rush. Like, I mean, honestly, like I don't know. Like, he played well. Not the glorified GOAT run that he had a couple years ago as a backup. But he was okay considering he was stepping into pretty much a chaotic mess. I mean, this team wasn't as good as 2 years ago. But Rico Dowdle, maybe probably surprise. I mean, he had 1,000 yards, eclipsed past game against the Eagles. So I think he's sitting at 1,007. So congrats to Rico Dowdle, the first undrafted Cowboy running back to ever pass 1,000 yards in a season. But really, outside of him, DeMarvion Overshawn, nah, not really too much bright spots. I'm gonna say, with this team, Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass played a little bit, had their moments on the line. I think they'll be key pieces to this team next year, but there just really wasn't a lot of positives. Not gonna lie. The negatives, I'm not gonna spend 40 minutes going down a rabbit hole of the negatives because it's literally what I've been talking about for the past when did season August. So it's been September, October, November, 4 months. It's been 4 months I've been talking about these problems, but it starts from the top. Jerry Jones, if we don't make any significant changes to this roster, starting with free agency, I can almost expect a similar result next year, even with Dak Prescott coming back healthy. Which also leaves the question, who's going to be our head coach? Because Mike McCarthy, after this last game against Washington, will technically not have a contract. So it'll be very interesting to see what Jerry does because that's going to be step one. It's either Mike McCarthy gets re-signed or they bring in somebody else. And then you attack the free agency. I'm praying.
If I know Jerry Jones,
If
we
I
will
know
see
Jerry,
Mike McCarthy back as head coach next year.
yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem because there needs to be something to change because we had a really bad season and it's nothing really against Mike McCarthy. Overall, I think his tenure was it was okay. It wasn't bad. Personally, a lot better than Jason Garrett. I could not stand that tenure. That was awful.
Oh man.
Coach Clapp was one of the worst. I mean, that was just torture. It was consistent 8-8, 8-8. But McCarthy's seasons when he had a basically healthy team, 12-5, 3 straight years. The first and the last year, Dak Prescott goes down. There's a lot of injuries, so he gets a semi pass for that. But this year, I mean, considering with everything that was going wrong, he's at 7 wins. If they win next week, it's 8. So it's basically you're a mid team, which is actually pretty good for what the roster is right now. But I just need change going into this offseason. And it starts with the coach, I think. He had a good 5-year run, but look at where the league is right now. Like we're playing old school football in the sense of we got like a 90s mindset. And it starts with our owner. Our owner hangs on, I won, but I built the triplets. I brought in Deion Sanders and we had a dynasty in the 90s. Yeah, but you haven't done anything ever since, Jerry. Like we are literally dying for just an appearance in an NFC championship. Can't even go to Super Bowl. But I just want to see this team make a deep playoff run, and we haven't done it for 30 years. So how are we gonna get over that hump? Let's, get with the modern NFL game. Hire a young offensive coach. Ben Johnson. I mean, that's the big name. I really doubt he's coming
That's
here.
the biggest name, I would say.
I mean, I don't think he's gonna come here because if I'm a coach, or especially like a Ben Johnson, why in the world would I want to go to Dallas and have Jerry micromanage everything that I do? It's like I'm the head coach. I should have full control of the football team in a sense. How I want to run the offense, yada, yada, yada. I don't want Jerry Jones giving any input with that. He's technically the GM, so okay, fine. Maybe he has to have some input on players, but I don't want Jerry just hanging over my shoulder every single day. I wouldn't do that. Even if the Cowboys was my dream team, I would want to go somewhere where I know I have a good culture. So who is going to be that coach that is willing to take a backseat to Jerry? Now, maybe Jerry, he gets knocked in the head with something and he's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be like that. Maybe I should just back off and be an owner, get an actual GM to do a job, get a young head coach and let him just take the keys and drive the car into, the next Super Bowl. But I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I do think um, McCarthy needs to go. Not in the sense like he has to be fired, but it's just he had a good run. He had a good run, and I think it's best for both sides to part ways. And I'm sure McCarthy can find another head coaching job somewhere. So that's what needs to change. We need to get healthy, and it starts really from the last game of this year. That's when the off season starts. So I'm just pushing this speech that I normally give 1 week early before the season because the season's over. Um, and the playoffs are coming up. Your team is still in the hunt, so I don't want to take too much time away from that. But yeah, this is just a disappointing year. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I just thought of this right now. The MVP. So I almost forgot to give my MVP of the season. So I mentioned the positives, but I didn't mention this guy. But he was probably my MVP of this year, Brandon Aubrey. I mean, he was outstanding. I think he is probably the Steph Curry of kickers
Oh, for
right
sure.
now. Um, for some reason, he struggles with 40-yard field goals, but he can drill 58 yarders like college kickers can kick PATs. Like it's just, it's truly remarkable. I mean, he is truly a weapon to have on this offense. If you cross midfield, you are in scoring position for the Dallas Cowboys with him kicking the ball. So it was a treat to watch him kick. I mean, I think he's coming back next year, but I think after that, he's going to be a free agent. So yeah, he needs to come back, please, Jerry. That's the one guy. He can break Harrison Butker's kicking contract record. I mean, he was just wow, just literally speechless at times. So shout out Brandon Butter Aubrey. But yeah, this is an ugly season. Did not have anything to really cheer about except for maybe the Steelers game. Uh, but I'm just glad. I'm just glad it's over. It's like too much misery.
Well, at least you have the off season to look forward to. Like I said, though, I know you're praying
Starts.
for a coaching change.
I'm praying for a coaching change, but I'm not even going to be surprised if he comes back because
Okay,
that's the way
good.
Jerry
Don't get your
operates.
hopes up. Don't get your hopes up on a coaching change. That's all I would say. But
I will say this though, if that's the case and it's most likely to happen, I do think Mike Zimmer should be in consideration for another run at DC because it was awful. I will say the first half of the season, but things have looked a little better. I think maybe players are getting a little more comfortable with his scheme compared to, the 4 years with Dan Quinn or 3 years with Dan Quinn. So, I think if McCarthy comes back, Zimmer should definitely be considered to come back. But if it's like a new coaching staff, a new head coach, I think you got to start with what he wants, who he wants as a DC, right? It's just, you got to clean house. It's
yeah.
the only way it goes. But if McCarthy comes back, I mean, I don't know what Brian Schottenheimer, he's technically our offensive coordinator, but I think that's where we need to change because our offense is it looks bad at times. Like when we can't run the ball, it's not like we're scheming guys open at times. Like it's just guys are trying to win one on one. Like I watch all these teams, the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Lions, especially, their motion offense, they're like scheming players open, making it easy for Jared Goff, making it easy for the skill players to get open touches and make plays in the field. Like we need that on offense. So that's the one area I think we need to upgrade and really revamp is the offense. And McCarthy, he's probably going to be a play caller if he comes back, but the offensive scheme needs to change. We need to hire an offensive coordinator to fix that. So that's going to be my spiel. It was not a preseason, so yeah. I'm glad the season is over next week for the Cowboys. It was torture.
Yeah, it
Torture.
was like a slow death this year instead of like the roller coaster of like oh, this is could be our year, and then it all comes
And then
crashing down.
the drop,
Yeah.
it was like just a constant slow fall.
Yeah. Well,
In a
there's
way,
always
that's
next
it's
year.
like less painful though, you
Less
know.
pain because you're not let down. You don't have like
Yeah,
the
the
drop
letdown
off.
is not bad, but I want that feeling of like they're so good and then they come crashing down. Like I personally rather have that because I like the false hope because then I can brag. And then the shit talking comes, and I take it every year, so it's fine. So I'm basically numb to it. But when I get a chance to talk the talk, it's rewarding for me because nobody else can say anything.
Yeah, that's always fun. But well, like I said, there's always next year, Matt. At least you
That's what I
can
tell myself every year. There's
look
always next year,
forward. You can
guys. We're
look
gonna win
forward.
the Super Bowl next year.
You look forward to the draft. But definitely gonna need to do something because Jaden Daniels is not going anywhere. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley aren't going anywhere, and who knows who's going to be the new
Shador,
face
Cam
of the
Ward.
Giants? Yep, exactly. So, NFC East still going to be really competitive next year. So, definitely need some changes on that Cowboys roster for sure. I am on board with that. But with that being said, Matt, I'll end your misery and talk about something a little bit more positive on this pod because somehow, some way, the Dolphins are still not out. And when I was talking about this, 2 weeks ago, we were looking pretty dead. With all the things that we needed to go, right for the Dolphins and wrong for other teams. I was like, it's just too many things. If it's whenever it's like, oh, just win out or, win out and have one team lose, it's like, okay, that's doable. But when it's like, oh, we need Denver to lose out or the Chargers to lose out, plus the Colts to lose one, plus we have to win out. And it's like all these other things. It's like, yeah, we're not technically eliminated, but fast forward, going into week 18 now, it's still I would still say it's less likely for us to make the playoffs than to make the playoffs. But I think we have a little bit more hope than we had 2 weeks ago. So I'll talk about the game first, Matt. So the big news that came out later in the week last week, obviously, is that Tua pops up on the injury report doubtful. So I'm thinking like initial reaction, okay, doubtful with the hip. We haven't really heard anything about a hip all year. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is the perfect thing. If Denver goes on to win, we're knocked out. Okay, yeah, bench him, bench the starters, save everyone for next year, right? Essentially, because why go get guys hurt for no reason when this team is already as banged up as they are? Pointless. So that was my initial thought, right? And then lo and behold, shout out to Joe Burrow. I want to talk about him a little bit later, but he goes on and I mean that was a crazy ending to that game too. I was like pulling my hair out
I
because
know.
I thought they were gonna lose that game, but they are able to pull out an overtime win there. So, this team has life now. We have something to play for. Going to Cleveland, okay, cold weather. Yeah, okay, let's show that we can do, we can do this and that. And then, it's sounding like, oh, it's really a toss up whether he's gonna play. He might not play and this and that. And I'm like, oh man, so wait, so this is a real injury. This isn't not some like injury that we were using to get him out of the game. It's like, oh no, there's seriously something wrong here. And then I'm reading all these reports from like the Dolphins beat writers and stuff. As the game is getting closer, I'm like, okay, is he playing? Is he playing? Like, what's going on? I don't know what we're doing. And then we finally get the word, oh, he's inactive. So I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Here we go, must win game again on the road, and he's not even going to play. So, turn over the keys to Snoop Huntley, and I'll just say I thought he played pretty well. I mean, as well as you can do. I think they were splitting reps all week, so he was. It wasn't like a complete. Oh, you're starting out like out of the blue. I think they were kind of tracking it, so at least they were a little bit prepared. But yeah, talk about the game first, and then some of the narratives after the game itself. Shout out to the defense. First of all, Anthony Weaver again called a great game. However, I must say, man, Dorian
It
Thompson
is the Browns.
Robinson just did not look very good. I mean, he maybe made one or two plays that were positive, but other outside of that, oh, it was like I felt bad for the Browns at that point.
I'm looking
I
at his
mean,
stat line:
yeah,
47 attempts and
look at the
170
if
yards.
you
That's
just look at
insane.
you look at the stat line, 24 completions for 170 yards is downright ugly. Um, and it's weird because they were kind of running the ball decently, but it's like they had nothing going, so they just kind of had to keep throwing. He had a pretty bad pick. Um, but yeah, it was an ugly day for them. Good day for the Miami Dolphins defense, but yeah, special teams as well did pretty good. Jason Sanders has been pretty solid again now, so those were good. But yeah, offensively, I think about as well as Tyler Huntley could have done. Um, it night and day seeing him when he first came on earlier in the year, and you kind of remember like that Tennessee game on Monday night where it didn't look right. Like you tell he was uncomfortable. But I thought the first couple throws to Tyreek and Devon hitting them in stride in the windows that are so coveted in this Miami Dolphins scheme. It's like, oh yeah, he's looking better. You can tell he's more comfortable in the system. Um, he has a pretty strong arm, I would say, to be able to thread those balls in. Executing the checkdowns, didn't have to run. Our running game was pretty much non-existent, so it was good that he was able to get us down into field goal range and stuff. So overall, I really was really pleased and happy that he was our backup because I mean, love Skylar Thompson, but it just hasn't looked right when he was in this year. So shout out to Snoop. I will say though, even as athletic as he was and he was making plays, he had the touchdown run that was dynamic. He had another long run in the game that helped, pick up a first down. But you can tell like this offensive line is still not, top tier. I mean, granted, you're going against Myles Garrett, so I'll give them some props there, but um, you can kind of tell how much I think Tua, with his quick release, really, saves a lot of sacks because, I mean, they were getting after him pretty fast, and he's a mobile guy, so I think he escaped a good amount, but he still got sacked 4 times. Um, so the offensive line is still just inconsistent, I think, on a week to week basis, and just unfortunate to see there. But I thought overall he did a pretty good job. Malik Washington had a pretty good game, and I mean Tyreek. It's about time he got it going. Too bad it's in week 17. Um, almost a little bit too late, but they got the win. But I just got to say, um, game wise, some of Mike's play calling just still kills me. I know there's one sequence in the game where I think they hit two pretty big chunk passing plays, and he follows that up with like a reverse. I think it's going to like Malik Washington or someone like that, and it ends up being like a 10-yard loss. And it's just like things like that just kill me. And then we have 4th and 1 again, right? Notoriously, but it's been like 2 or 3 years saying this, especially though in the past 2 or 3 months. 4th and 1, we have running backs that are not as small as Devon Achane, as good as Devon Achane is when it's 4th and 1, and I'll say even inches, right? First of all, I would sneak it with Tyler Huntley. I think, he has a size and strength to be able to pick up 2 feet, right? Um, and then on top of that, we have Alec Ingold leading the way for potential Jeff Wilson or Raheem Mostert. But I don't know if Mike just insists on playing to our team strengths, which is this quickness, laterally, misdirection, the motions. But I still think we get too cute sometimes. And it jars me crazy because he used Jeff Wilson last week and I applauded him for it. And then this week, here we go in the same situation and we go back to this misdirection, counter, toss to Devon Achane in the backfield. Browns are all over it. We get stuffed on another fourth down. And it's like I love Mike, but I scratch my head sometimes. If we don't trust our offensive line and our guys to go pick up not even a yard, right? Then like football is still won and lost in the trenches, right? I think we're both firm believers in that. So that just killed me. And like we had I don't know how many challenges he's won, but his ratio is terrible. He lost 2 back-to-back challenges in this game too. Like I don't know. Outside of the offensive scheming and like getting his players, to be positive and stuff like that, there's still a lot of things I think we can work on Mike's side as well. So I'm being a little bit more critical of him this year, but it's just something I've noticed. But all that aside, looking on to next week now, Matt, have to take care of business, right, against the Jets to even consider having a chance. I don't know if the schedules were released yet because I think what they've been doing, right, for the past, I guess from last year. It is
released.
Oh, so it is released because they flex Denver all the Week 18 games, right?
Yep. They play same time as Denver.
Okay, so it's the same time. So it's that second window. I guess I'll have to find a way to somehow watch both of those games. Oh no, wait. Oh no, you're right.
The Bengals play on Saturday.
Yeah, the Bengals play on Saturday. But the Bengals are irrelevant. So yeah, I'm gonna have to find out a way. I'll probably have both those games on. Unfortunately, the Chiefs are gonna rest everyone. But looking onto the Jets, first of all, because it would be a classic Miami thing to lose to the Jets. I'm just like, as bad as the Jets looked against the Bills this week, knock on wood, they're preparing and all that, because now it sounds like Tyler Huntley's going to take a bulk of the snaps this week during practice. So I don't know if Tua's going to play. Honestly, it doesn't sound good, but with the season on the line, like you would hope he can play. But I'm like, even going back to the injury, I forgot to bring this up. I think he got hurt in that Texans game when he dove head first. So it's like, okay, he's not getting concussed, but he's still getting. Someone posted a clip on Twitter. He got blasted by a defensive end straight to that same surgically repaired hip. So I don't know if that also affected his play the rest of the Texans game too. So I'm just it's driving me crazy. Like, I get it. You want to go make a play for your team, but maybe when it's the playoffs or it's absolute do or die situation, if we're still alive, we can't be doing that. So this week, you know what, Tua? If you got to go ahead if you're going to play, first of all, okay. But if it's like 4th and 1 and it's a gotta have it or the game is over, then you have my permission to go try to make a play. If it's second down, if it's the third quarter, even if it's early in the fourth quarter, I don't want to see you dive headfirst a single time. So that's
where the guardian cap already.
I mean, yeah, that's that. But the game itself, like I said, got to take care of business. The Jets, are they checked out? I don't know. Sauce Gardner saying some guys are already mentally checked out. Rodgers is like probably had one of the
biggest one of that.
Probably had one of the worst games of his career against the Bills. He's pointing fingers and like it's just not, things are not right in New York. Garrett Wilson might be looking to get traded after, how excited he was this offseason to get Aaron Rodgers, 2 seasons ago to get Aaron Rodgers on the team. So I don't know. It's just the Jets' dysfunction. Thank goodness for that, honestly. But yeah, I still think we need to eyes on the prize, guys. We're not out of the woods just yet. Got to take care of business first. But on that flip side, Matt, the Broncos Chiefs, I don't know, but it almost kind of feel like Denver is starting to maybe felt a little bit of pressure from now 2 weeks. Not being able to secure the playoffs. I don't know. Like I like Bo Nix and he made some great plays, but when you lose a game like that, right? It's all I don't want to compare it to like a Super Bowl hangover, but when you have such a big game, important game, win and get in, I feel like it's a little bit deflating to lose in the way that the Broncos did, right? You know, I think the Bengals are going to go walk it off on a 30 something yard field goal, pulls it, right? And so, okay, it's like with how Bo Nix was looking earlier in the game, it's essentially, oh, they just need three, the game's over. That's what I'm thinking in my head. But I think was it those last two drives, like just Bo Nix, as after looking so good all game too, like just kind of lost it. So I don't know what happened, but to me that might get in his head a little bit. I don't know. I know he's a pretty stoic guy. You follow him a lot in Oregon. You like his personality, but I feel like that's can be something that's a little bit hard, right, to overcome. When you had the chance right in front of you, and just couldn't put that one drive together to even get a field goal, essentially, right? So a little bit deflating, but unfortunately that can be two ways, right? It's either a little bit deflating or it's even more motivation to win this final game, especially against Kansas City. You want to beat them after how you lost earlier in the year on the blocked field goal. So it's just, and they're at home, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty tough for Carson Wentz. But like you said, stranger things have happened in the league. I'm holding out a
The
little bit of
NFL, you
hope.
play the games for a reason.
Got to play the games. You got to play the games. So, and just before we get off this, Matt, and before we look on to kind of that Bills question that you had, the Colts, man. Like, I'm
You got your
sorry.
wish.
I'm
That's your
sorry.
Christmas present right
I
there.
guess you're right. That was my Christmas present. But like, I don't want to say I was purposely doing like a Skip Bayless jinx or anything, but I said last week, like, how are the Colts going to lose to the Giants or the Jags? I was like, maybe the Jags because divisional game. But oh my goodness, like, how do you let Drew Lock, who just looked so bad, looks like he's leading, Thomas the Tank Engine for the Giants, for Shadur, maybe, I don't know. He dropped four passing tuds and a rushing touchdown on your head in a must-win game. Like, it's not like this is we still have a chance. No, you guys are out now. Like, in a must-win game, first of all, Anthony Richardson is out because, he's just running all the time and is getting hurt still. Like, you want to talk about injury prone with Tua, but Anthony Richardson not off to a hot start in his career, right? And then, like the defense of the Colts, I thought they were not bad. Like, they got some names, on their team, but
A default.
yeah, Defoe, they got Latu, the rookie, and
Yeah.
they have I thought, decent back end, right? They got Kenny Moore back there. Got some good linebackers. Zaire Franklin is always all over the field. So I was just like, I'm looking at the scores. I'm like, does that say like 21 to something Giants? And I'm like, well, it's gonna be a classic Giants. They're gonna somehow find a way to lose this one. Drew Lock said, "Hold on, guys, let me put my backpack on, and yeah, I'm gonna carry us to a dove at home." And it's crazy. Like, I saw Pat McAfee's tweet, which was crazy. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah,
but
he's
he
not going to
had
be a season ticket holder anymore, right?
that long paragraph blasting players, you know, going back to the Anthony Richardson, we kind of talked about it, like tapping out in the what was it, a third down or something in the red zone. Jonathan, like I love Jonathan Taylor, but how are we dropping the ball before the end zone as a professional running back? Right now, I'm hearing like there's rumors of guys showing up late to meetings and there's no accountability and this and that, which is weird because like I thought the Colts were pretty, buttoned up organization, more or less. But sounds like the culture in Indianapolis isn't that great. So sounds like there's a lot of changes that are going to be
I'll say
made.
this: they have the second worst owner in football.
Yeah, I mean,
If there's
Ursay
any
is a
owner
little
that
bit
is
of a
Jerry
character.
Jr.,
He
it's him.
he's a little bit of a character, I would say. But I mean, just football operation wise, like Chris Ballard, I thought runs a pretty tight ship. It seemed like Shane Steichen early in the season was pretty, about his business kind of thing. So that's why these reports are a little bit surprising, especially like you got Defoe in there. But even he said in kind of that interview post game, like, no, there's gonna be some uncomfortable conversations and there's gonna be, a lot of changes this offseason because I mean, we know the kind of guy he is, right? Being at the Niners or even from Oregon, he's a professional and he shows up and he puts in the work. So yeah, I can imagine he's one of the, the leaders on that team, if not the leader, essentially, right? So sounds like yeah, he's been pretty upset with how things have been operating. But thank you, Colts, for just once again finding a way to lay an egg against one of the tanking teams in the league.
Yep.
So
And thank you because now that puts the Giants out of the first pick. They don't control their destiny to a top quarterback, so maybe they can go with Drew Lock again.
yeah, well, I don't think that's gonna happen. That might be, who's gonna end up there, right? Kirk
Daniel
Cousins.
Jones. Oh god.
Kirk Cousins back in the East. I'm telling you that it's setting up perfectly for Kirk. Another team out of the lottery, and he's gonna end up there.
Ooh,
But
that's a
they're gonna
bold
end up
take.
drafting a quarterback. I don't know. Um,
Quinn Ewers
or can you imagine if Cooper Rush goes to the
back.
Giants? Ooh,
He actually went to the Giants and then came back. Like he had two stints in Dallas, so he actually was a Giant. So hey, if he gets to start, good for him. But we gotta keep him.
yeah.
Gotta keep him. Or Dallas
Um,
can draft Dylan.
oh,
If Gabriel falls to day three,
he's
snatch him.
got. I think he probably will, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll talk about the draft later, Matt. The one thing I wanted to get to that I think you this is a good question that you posed. Like if you're the Bills, right, and you're seeing these three teams now, I think this is a no-brainer, but you do not want to play Cincy. I don't think anyone wants to play Cincinnati as questionable as their defense has been, right? And somehow finding ways to lose. Like they're almost Charger-esque this year with some of the ways that they've been losing games. Um, Joe just is on it. Like he is so locked in right now. When it counts to like Jamar T was like that catch on the sideline was like that just earned him a
A
huge
payday.
bag, I think. Like coming up when it matters most in that situation. They still got Chase Brown. I know he's a little bit banged up, but with how they throw the ball, like it just sets up the rest of that run game. Um, they're lethal right now. And I think like Mike Gesicki was a huge pickup for them. He's been really good. Had a big game as well. So I think that's the last team you want to play. And honestly, if I'm Buffalo, I want to play Miami again. Like, how could you not want to play Miami? You've owned them. Josh Allen has owned the Dolphins essentially like since he's gotten into the league. I think he only has like one or two losses against the Dolphins. So and with all the narratives, Tua's banged up. Like we don't know how Jalen Waddle's doing. Bradley Chubb, maybe he's just gonna be shut down already for the rest of the year. So if I'm Josh Allen, I want to play them. I wouldn't take my chances with Denver. But right, you've got to imagine they're just praying anyone but Joe Burrow in that first round.
Yeah, I think so. But luckily for them, Joe Burrow, they're behind the Broncos and the Dolphins. So basically, as long as the Broncos or the Dolphins win, I think they'll take their chances with either Bo Nix or Tua. But even if it is Miami, there is something about playing a division opponent in the
That's
playoffs.
true.
It's that's the other side of it. Like, and yes, Miami has this cold weather narrative, probably the worst place to play in terms of temperature and potentially snow, maybe outside of Green Bay, but you could make a debate. But it's still it's hard. I think what Dolphins lost the series 0-2, right? So
Hmm.
it's to beat a team three times in
They
one
were
year.
close. They were close this past one. It was a walk-off 61-yard bomb from Tyler Bass that won the second one in Buffalo too. So you're
Yep.
right. It is tough to beat a divisional team three times,
Yeah.
especially.
So I
But
feel like I don't know. Maybe if I'm Buffalo, maybe I'll take my chances with the Broncos. Bo Nix, rookie quarterback on the road, it's his first go around. And I don't know if that team is ready. Miami has been in the playoffs the past couple years, so it's not like they're foreign to the wild card round at least, and
mhm.
definitely not foreign to
Cold weather.
playing
It's going to
playing
be
Buffalo.
probably yeah. It'll be honestly more than likely it'll be warmer if they somehow get to Buffalo than what they played in Kansas City in the record low last year, right? So yeah, you're right. Maybe
Yeah,
um yeah, if you're Buffalo, you're saying maybe we'll take the young Bo Nix and the up and down Denver Broncos instead. It's a
yeah.
good point.
But it'd be totally like NFL. They're like partly just praying this happens. That the Bengals beat the Steelers on Saturday. Carson Wentz turns into 2017 Carson Wentz,
Hmm.
beats the Broncos. Tua gets nicked up, doesn't play, and Aaron Rodgers just says, F it, we ball one game,
Yep.
goes crazy.
Yep.
So the Bengals get in and they get
That
a
is
Josh
the
Allen, Joe
100%.
Burrow.
That is 100% the NFL's dream
Yeah, they are
if they could get
praying.
that. Yeah,
So better pay attention to the refs in the other games.
that's true. That's a good point. I don't know. Might need to keep an eye. But hey, so what? The refs are going to be against Kansas City for once, and it's also kind of perfect. Oh no, 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 no. They'd be for Kansas City, but then that's too obvious, right? Like if they're helping out Carson Wentz in Denver, like yeah, that's a little bit suspicious there.
uh,
Um, But anyway, Matt, yeah, um, it'll be good. We'll see how everything plays out. Hopefully, I'm not giving the season recap next week. But with that being said, did want to cover a couple more games, just because we are coming down to the wire in on the NFC side as well. But for the one seed, kind of crazy. I mean, like we all saw coming, right? The Minnesota Vikings would have 14 wins, going into Week 18, right? Like we all predicted, especially after JJ McCarthy what tears his ACL and is out for the year. But crazy, the Lions and the Vikings coming down to it um for that one seed, Matt. And yeah, I just think
it's gonna be a good game.
it's gonna be a great game because where they are at, they're in
It's in Detroit,
they're in
Detroit, right?
Detroit. In
Mhm.
Detroit, we know, which is crazy because Detroit, I think, went undefeated on the road this year, which is pretty crazy, especially how good they are at home. But man, like I'm excited for this one. Um, I don't know, Matt. Who do you think is gonna come out on top? You got is it hard? I think it's hard to pick against Detroit at home.
Yeah,
Um, but
it's hard to pick against Detroit, and even though they lost Montgomery, I mean, they're still look at the stuff they're doing today. I mean, the hook and ladder. I mean,
crazy.
I think what was that? I think there was a touchdown play at the goal line. Like you could see all the concepts and I was like, wow, that is.
The
There's a lot
Jameson
of things.
Williams,
Yeah,
like
I
it
think
was
so.
the
It was
hat
like a.
the handoff, yeah.
I was like, wow, that is, and the blocking, how they set it up, perfect. It's like,
Or even you want to
geez,
talk about that last week, the fake stumble, right? To lead to a touchdown. Like the creativity, it really is like
Van
getting to
Johnson.
that Andy Reid esque level of creativity. And that's I mean, that's no joke if you can draw that kind of comparison. But I'm just if I had to pick, I think this is gonna be a good game though. But I would take Detroit just because they're at home. They've been in the big games, before. And yeah, I do think though that gotta give some credit to Brian Flores' defense. I think how they were able to manage the Packers this week. Gotta give him credit because the Packers were another team that I thought was rolling. Josh Jacobs has been on fire. So, and how about Sam Darnold, man? Like, can't give enough love to Sam Darnold. I think should easily be the comeback player of the year in the NFL, right? I think there's almost no doubt that he ends up winning that award. But for what him and also Kevin O'Connell, what he's been able to do with this roster that after JJ went down, I don't even know how many wins they were projected. I know they were projected essentially last in the North. So for them to be at 14-2 with a chance to claim the 1 seed in the NFC and get the home field advantage and the bye. Can't give enough credit to that staff and that organization with what they've been able to do. So hey Riley, it's a good year to be a Vikings fan. But yeah, we'll see it. This is going to be I think probably one of the games of the year. So that'll be really exciting to look forward to, man.
It's going to be pretty crazy to think about that a 14 win team is going to be
Yeah.
a wild card team.
Yep.
It's just crazy.
Uh-huh. And honestly, like they'll probably be the favorites against whoever comes out
The
in the
South.
South, I think. Like if it's I think the Bucks have the advantage, right? So I
Mhm.
think as long as they win, they're
Yep.
in. Yeah, so but I think Detroit or Minnesota against the Bucks, I think are going to be the favorites. But yeah, that home field is going to be huge for both teams. Um,
Yep.
so a lot coming down to that one, Matt. And then another team that clinched earlier this week. Crazy Sunday night football game. Atlanta, Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels, two, I think,
That was a great game too.
rising star. Well, we definitely know what Jaden has done throughout the course of the year, but I will say Michael Penix did impress me more so with how he ended the game, right? Like he was kind of, his first couple starts in the league, I think he's been kind of up and down. You can see a little bit of the growing pains for sure. Like you look at his numbers, they're not, nothing crazy. But I will say that when it was quote unquote winning time or time to go make plays, Matt, he stepped up when he needed to. I thought that last drive, right, to kind of go well, really both those last two drives. So the touchdown drive, he picked up some fourth downs, and that last throw he had to Kyle Pitts,
That was a perfect throw.
laser, right, perfect throw, when he needed it the most. So I'm excited for him and his future in the league. I just think he's going to need some time to get acclimated to the speed and just playing games in the NFL. But I think Atlanta should be excited with what they have there. But really, Matt, I mean, it comes down to Jaden Daniels coming up big once again. I mean, I think this game probably cemented his rookie of the year status, I would say, leading his team to at least 11 wins, securing the playoffs, especially how bad the Commanders looked last year, the turnaround that they've had. Also rushed for over 120 yards in this game. But matched Penix when it counted the most. And crazy, he's just been that dude all year in crunch time, right? Like when it's time and he needs to go make a play, just somehow finds a way to get it done. So even without Terry helping pretty much at all, yeah, it was a good game. And unfortunately for you, I think Jaden's gonna be a problem in the NFC East for a while. So yeah, man, was a great one. Looking forward to seeing what the Commanders can do because I think people might need to be a little bit weary of the Commanders, whoever they
Depends
get
who they
in the first
play.
round.
Right now, they're the six. They have the inside track to the six. So I would think they're trying to win to stay out of Philadelphia, who's looming at the two seed. So Green Bay, I don't know. I don't know. Something about
I
Green
think
Bay with
that
the
would be a
seven
good.
seed.
That would be a good. I don't know. Because essentially, right, who would be the
Who
three
is it right
seed?
now? Right now, it's the Rams.
The Rams. See, like Rams Commanders would be a good one, I think too. So
But what
I
if
don't know.
because the Rams clinched? So is it possible they rest their starters?
Well,
Because
oh,
it's
that's
not like
true.
they don't get a bye or anything. Like, do they rest their starters? And then if Tampa Bay wins, I don't know how it is. I think they would have the same record, what the tiebreaker would be, but
Mm,
they drop to the four. Then they would play the Vikings or the Lions. Like that's a tough.
yeah, I guess
You
we'll
don't
see
want to
how it
get
all
that one
shakes
either.
out.
So it's like
I firmly believe that kind of to quote, I shoot, who was it? Was it Craig Counsell, the Miami Marlins manager? Um,
Skip Schumacher.
it was Shoemaker. Yeah. When he said like you just gotta honor the game, right? Like you honor the game, and it'll. That's what you got to do, right? You're not gonna um beat around the bush or like try to save guys to try to. I think when you rest guys because you want to lose to play a certain team, like
It
maybe
always comes back to haunt you.
I'm just a karma guy or honoring the game kind of guy, but I think unless you're in like a Kansas City position, right? And you're the one seed no matter what, doesn't matter. We want to rest our guys to get healthy. Okay. But when you're trying to like, not play God, but like trying to play matchmaker and let's hope we lose and hope this team wins and get paired up against them instead of them. Like that's I think karma will find a way to kind of get you back. So if I'm the Rams, I'm playing our guys, and I think they will, right? Because
Yeah,
you never know, right? You want to take care of business, and you want a little bit more experience. I think going into the playoffs, but that's just me. So
I think
yeah,
so.
it'll be good, Matt. It'll be a
The
good
Falcons.
good
Well, what
week.
about the Falcons in this game? The Commanders, yeah, we know what they did, but the Falcons, I thought, man, they blew it at the end. Uh, Particularly that last drive in regulation. I was watching the end of this game, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Penix does a nice ball to Mooney, doesn't get out of bounds, but they have two timeouts. They
Oh,
waste like
you're right.
20
I forgot
seconds.
about that. Yeah, the clock management.
Like, oh
Forgot
God,
about
what are
that.
you guys doing? What are you guys doing?
Just letting the clock run off. Yep, that's right. I forgot about that.
And they kicked the field goal. It was straight, but it was just a little bit short.
And
So
no Young Wei Koo, because
if you
he has a
have,
leg.
yeah, but if you had an extra 20 seconds, you could run another play or two, get 10, 15 yards, and you would have made that kick. And then
Hmm.
you guys would be, I would not division champs, but you would still control your own destiny to win the South next week. So now you need a win and a tempo loss. So I don't know. I think Raheem Morris deserves a little bit of heat on that one because
That's fair.
with what he was saying, I don't agree because we're trying to save our timeouts, but what are you trying to save it for?
I don't
You
know, but
got
it took them so
timeouts.
long to get even set. Because I think you're
Yeah,
right. It was like a minute left when the play was over, and they snapped the ball with like 30
I
something
think it was
seconds
less.
on the
I feel like it
clock.
was less than that. It was like 20 seconds.
Yeah, so I'm just like watching the time tick, and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go, hurry up, but 10 seconds off the clock. Like we should be snapping this ball with 45-ish seconds on the
Yep.
clock, right? Not, I'm just seeing the clock wind down. I'm like, what are they doing?
Literally,
Are they not going to call a timeout? So,
literally remind me of the Bears Lions when, the whole Eberflus thing, not calling
right.
the timeout. But I will say from Eberflus, Matt, I can't even pronounce his name, Eberflus's perspective, I even have the clip. Like I kind of understand what he was trying to do. And I thought that was the right decision in my head. But for Raheem Morris,
You
little
have
different
two,
because you
yeah.
have two timeouts. So you can, yeah, if you have one, okay, maybe I see you trying to. I can kind of understand where you're coming from. Oh, we're trying to save that timeout so we can set up the field goal. Call a timeout. Kicker doesn't have to rush. Like, okay, that I understand, but not when you have two timeouts with 30 seconds left. Like that should be an automatic timeout, and you can burn that second one.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, you're right. It did end up costing them, and now they're going to need some help to get in. But yeah, it's going to be a great week 18. We got a drama. Got a lot of playoff hopes on the line, just like the NFL wants in their week 18. So it'll be a good week for football.
Yeah.
Just praying and hoping for a Miami win and a Carson Wentz 2017 throwback masterclass.
Mm.
So
Actually, before we get off the NFL, I have one quick thing. So speaking of Carson Wentz, played for the Eagles. Saquon Barkley over 2,000 yards. I think he's like 100 something. He's like what,
mhm.
100 yards away from Eric Dickerson's record. I don't know. There's a lot of talk of, oh, does he play? Does he not play because of the bye? It's the Eagles are in the 2 seed. I listened to like First Take and Get Up, and I heard some people say, "Oh yeah, he's resting," and then some people, Dan Orlovsky, saying, "Oh, he should be playing. He should be playing." But to Saquon's credit, he had a very good answer with his press conference. But I guess what is your take on that? Because I think with what Saquon said, there's no way in heck I am risking Saquon getting on that field in a
Honestly,
meaningless game.
honestly, the fact that it's meaningless, I don't think he should play. Because let's be real here, right? If he was a quarterback, right, or someone that's not going to take brutal hits,
So a quarterback.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess a wide receiver, I'd be a little more, maybe, but you're star running back, right, in a meaningless game, and I think what's so great about Saquon as like a football player is you can tell he's such a team guy and he cares about winning,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like going back to that, loss they had early in the year when the ball goes off his hands. He's the one, he's taking the blame for it. I should have caught it. I should have caught it. Not none of this, oh, they should have ran the ball. It's oh, it's my fault. Should have caught the ball. And we've just kind of seen him throughout the years, like even when he was on the Giants, that and when they weren't very good, he's taking accountability as their leader. So honestly, I don't think he's gonna play, and I think he's perfectly fine with it. He understands that the ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl. As great as it is, to potentially break the record. Um, yeah, I think he's already on his way, and knock on wood, he stays healthy. But I think at this rate that he's going, and if he's able to continue success in Philly, he's on his way to arguably a Hall of Fame career. Already, like yeah, the single season rushing records are going to be great, and it's going to maintain withstand the test of time. But when you're in a position like that, and you have the chance to win a Super Bowl, like if you're really about winning, then yeah, you're gonna do what's best for the team. And I think he is that kind of guy. So I'm resting him, and I think honestly, you tell him he's gonna sit. I think he'd be fine either way. To be perfectly honest, like that's just the kind
That's
of
what he
guy
said
he
in his
is.
interview. So
Uh,
I respect that.
yeah, I think that's just the kind of guy he is. If Sirianni tells him, "Hey, we want you to play and go get that record," um, yeah, he's gonna go do that. But if they, Lurie or whoever, Roseman tells him, "Nah, we're sitting you because our ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl." He's also gonna be like, "Okay, that's fine with me too." So I don't, I truly think either way it goes, he'll be fine about it. But if I was in that front office or coaching room, whatever it is, I'm sitting him. It's too much of a risk
Yep.
because he's probably going to finish what third potentially in MVP voting. So that's the kind of caliber player he is and to this team, right? The spark that he's brought to this team, and it's not just the running. He can catch the ball. just get him the ball in space, backwards hurdle. Like he literally invented a new move, a new juke move. It's never been done before, right? So that's just the kind of talent that he is. And you don't want to risk even a potential serious injury, right? That, would not only knock him out for the playoffs, but could potentially knock him out for bulk of the year next year, right? So I just think there's too much at risk if your real goal is to go win the Super Bowl. If they were out of the playoffs, yeah, go get the record. But right? It's a team game. You got something to play for. I think you sit him, and I think he's okay with that.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Sirianni would get so much heat if he got nicked up. He might get fired.
No,
Honestly,
I think I love that they're supporting him and all this, but let's sit him and go for the Super Bowl run, which is what we're all playing the game to do anyway, right? Um, But okay, Matt, I think we're good on football. We covered a lot there. So we can get into some other topics. Now that we are officially going into round two of the CFP, Matt, I don't know if there's any last things you wanted to say on some of the matchups. I know, oh, actually, sorry, we already knew Carson Beck was going to be out, but yeah, anything on this Ohio State Oregon matchup now that it's week of?
still as nervous as I probably could be, cheering for Oregon. Feels like a champion. Literally feels like a championship game for the Rose Bowl. I mean, that's how good both of these teams are. Would not surprise me. The winner of this game goes on to win the entire thing this season. I mean, I would make a case they're probably the two most complete teams in college football in terms of talent, at least overall talent. Um, but I don't know. I think it's gonna be like a something similar to the last game. I feel like it's gonna be like 31-28, 31-30. It's gonna be something down to the wire, I think. But I feel like last game, Ohio State had the ball last, chance to win it. They didn't execute. Something is telling me it's going to be flipped. Like, I feel like Dylan Gabriel's going to have the ball with a chance to win the game on the last drive, 2-minute drive to put your team over the top. I just feel like it's going to come down to that because I really do think that's going to be the difference in the game. I mean, the wide receivers, yeah, Ohio State's great, but Oregon's still good too. Like Tej Johnson's good, Evan Stort's good. I mean, we got Trishan Holden. Like we got good guys out there. Ohio State got the 1-2 punch at running back. Well, Oregon has a 1-2 punch at running back too. Oregon got good tight ends. We got a better offensive line with the revamped shuffling of positions. Moving guys here and there in between the line. So I feel like, you know, defensively, the talent is there on both sides. It's going to come down to which quarterback plays better, which quarterback doesn't make the big mistake. Sometimes it's just playing simple. Take care of the football. When you got a talented team, just let your weapons do their things. And
Yep, that's a good point.
I think that's literally has to be your game plan going in for Dylan and Will Howard.
Yeah.
But like I said, if it comes down to this one drive and Dylan has to just say, well, my last college football game potentially, let me put the cape on, show me why, or show the country why I was a Heisman finalist. Now is my time to shine. But other than that, take care of the ball. Let Tej Johnson, let Jordan James, let those guys do their thing. And hopefully we get out alive to see another game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be one of those. It's one of the most hyped games in a while. I feel
this
like.
has to be. It has to be. 100%. Especially with kind of. I know the Notre Dame Georgia one without Beck now. Like the lines are closer, and we don't really know what Georgia's going to be without Carson Beck, so it's kind of hard. But it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't have that hype.
The star power. I think.
Yeah, that this Ohio State Oregon game has. So it'll be good. I think it's going to be a good one. Might be a Rose Bowl classic, honestly. So, I mean, two of the best, front or programs in the country right now. Yeah, it's going to be a battle for sure. Um, but real quick, man, I know we don't have it on here, but I wanted to ask you, the Cam Ward situation. I know you've seen a little bit about that. Just want to get your opinion because I was talking to someone about it yesterday, and yeah, I don't know, um how you would feel or how you feel about that whole situation. He goes in, plays the first half, but sits out the second half. Like, I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, I would understand if he sat. Like, I understand. I wouldn't rule him for that, but I also understand why you play the game. But if I'm playing, this is me. But if I'm playing, I'm gonna play the entire game.
Right.
Like, I think that's just a little weird, and it's just the timing of it because he broke the single season touchdown record in college football, and
Hmm.
then right after that, he's out of the game. Like, that's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like that part and that narrative. Like, if that's the reason why he was just playing for a record, like, we just talked about him. Saquon seems like a team guy. Like, he'll do whatever is best for the team. I don't think Saquon Barkley would do that.
Yeah.
He would play the full game or
Unless
not
he
play.
got unless he got pulled, but it doesn't
Yeah,
sound
but
like it just doesn't sound like he got pulled out. It sounds like, okay, got the record, I'm done,
yeah.
kind
So
of
I don't know.
thing.
That's a little shady. Like, I mean, it's hard because I don't know what the logic is of the story, but I just think if you're gonna play, just play the whole game. If you're not gonna play, then don't play at all.
That's fair.
I don't like that you play one half. And I will say, you know, the other quarterback he's competing with for a top pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Shout out to Shador, Travis, for playing. I really do respect that, and I know maybe it's a little different because there's a little bond with Travis Hunter and Dion and Shador. Like,
Hmm.
they want to be on the field together, so I feel like a little bit different. But
Right.
I respect them for going, even though they got absolutely killed, by the way.
Yeah.
But I
Shocker, by the
respect
way,
them
because I
for
thought I thought they had BYU, but
I respect them for playing. Um, and that actually, you know, seeing Shador kind of distraught, and he was still talking to his teammates on the sidelines. When they're down 20 and four scores, like I mean, I still think he comes across as a little arrogant at times, but that made me win him over
I
just a little
agree.
bit. So I respect that from him.
Yeah. And yeah, just to go on the Cam Ward thing, like, I'm not gonna kill him. All right. Like, I get it. It's a At the end of the day, right, with how you're set up, you're a potential number one pick in the NFL, right? I get it. You don't want to play to risk your career. That's fine. I'm probably a little bit I think I'm actually more like you. Like, but if you're not gonna play, just don't play. Give your other guys a chance. At the same time, like, I get it's the record, right? And that's cool. But like you said, if you're gonna play, then play. Um, if Yeah. So I'm not gonna completely kill him for it. Like, it's a weird kind of spot to be in. I wouldn't know what that's like to have a chance at, you know, getting
A record.
a record like that, by the way.
Yeah.
Historic record. Um and potentially, he could potentially be the number one pick depending how the draft process goes and stuff. So yeah, it's a unique situation and came out with a unique scenario, I guess you could say. So I'm not going to completely kill him for that. I just would be like, as a, playing team sports, it's kind of like you just want your guys to, be there for you, right? That's all you can kind of ask. But like I said, weird situation.
He did look good though. I will say he looked great.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's
So
like,
I'm like,
whoa.
yeah, I should have just shredded Iowa State the second half too. But um yeah, it was, yeah, weird. But I don't like it that much, but I'm not gonna kill him for it. Like, I don't think it should tank his draft stock or
No, no, no.
anything like that. Yeah. Um But yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to get your opinion because I know it was everywhere. Um, okay, well, I think that's enough football talk for now, Matt. We actually have some kind of juicy basketball stuff, and
Oh
it
yeah, for the
pertains
lake.
pertains the Lake Show. So I think this was kind of a move with the writing on the wall. But D'Angelo Russell traded over to the Brooklyn Nets. We get Dorian Finney-Smith and I believe
Shake
shoot,
Milton.
Shake Milton. Yeah. To kind of bolster up the bench as well. So I mean, initial reactions first and foremost, gotta say thank you to D'Angelo Russell for his second stint with the Lakers. It was a roller coaster ride, I will say, but he had, his clutch playoff moments the past 2 years. We couldn't never get over the Denver hump, but that Grizzlies series 2 years ago, without him, they don't, win that series. Um, we just wish the shooting could have been a little bit more consistent on a night to night basis. The playmaking, the shot selection, I think could have been a little bit better on a night to night basis. But to his credit, he stuck it out. And, when he got moved to the bench this year, it's hard for a lot of guys to accept that. But he took it on the chin and, went with it, didn't complain, anything like that. So, got to show my love to D'Lo and what he's been able to do for this organization. Um, More so in the second stint than the first, I will say. But yeah, wish him the best of luck as he goes over to Brooklyn. But on the flip side, Matt, the positive note, we do get Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton. Shake Milton, I think he'll be a nice piece to have, to give some energy minutes or provide a nice little offensive spark off the bench. But I am pretty excited to be getting a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith. I've been a fan of his game since he was with Dallas, right? Like it's just the kind of
Three and
guys,
D.
yeah, the 3 and D guys that the I think the Lakers desperately, desperately needed. As good as Dalton Connect has been at some points in the year, as really good as Austin Reeves has been, by the way, which is a reason I think they could get rid of D'Lo. It's because of how well Austin was playing, but still no Jared Vanderbilt, right? And I don't even know at this point what the heck is going on. I don't think anyone knows outside that Lakers organization what's going on with him. Like Gabe Vincent, he's a great, he's going to make the right play type of guy, but just doesn't have that size to be able to guard some of the wing guys. Cam Reddish has been, pretty good defensively, I would say. Just the 3 point shot has been a little bit too inconsistent. So to get another guy like DFS, it's a great addition to this team. Um, I think he brings a little bit more defense. Like Rui is great offensively, but defensively he can be a little bit of a liability on ball. Although will say I think he's improved defensively and rebounding wise this year. Just nice to have another guy like that can come in and provide good defense. Because now, honestly, with like Cam and honestly Max Christie has been having a great year, I think, as almost a 3 and D guy as well. Add a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, give LeBron a little bit of a breather so he doesn't have to guard, the top forward on the other team. Like I think this is a great pickup. I'm glad Rob Pelinka, is being active and trying to help this team out because we're in the midst of a nice little winning spree right now. But it can always look to improve your team. Only one game back of the 4 seed essentially. So yeah, it's a nice, a good move, I think. I
Mm-hmm.
still think we should go get another big to go kind of supplement AD, but I'll leave that to him. It's just good to know that they're active and looking, Matt.
So
But
is it get a big or get another star? Because if Austin Reeves keeps playing like this, maybe you don't need to get another
I
star.
don't know. Yeah, Austin has really, I think, taken that next step in the offense and in JJ's system, and just playing with LeBron and AD. Like I think he's averaging, 20 points a game now, which is kind of crazy because I'd always just assumed he was gonna be like around an 18 kind of guy. But I think he's hovering around 18 to 20 a game, which is really nice to see. So he's been, playmaking, hitting big shots late in the game. I mean, we saw the game winner he had against the Warriors when I mean that was an epic game too, right? That Christmas Day game. But um yeah, I like what we're doing, but I'm always gonna be predicated, Matt, on the fact of how the game is played today. 3 and D is so critical. Um and I just didn't think the Lakers had enough of that. So if we could just get another like athletic big, hopefully, because like Jackson Hayes, I don't know what's going on with him, and his situation. So yeah, I just think like we probably need another big, hopefully. Because I don't even know when Christian Wood is gonna be back now. Like, yeah, unless he's coming back soon, I want another big. But overall,
Who's
like,
even on the market though?
yeah, no,
Valanciunas?
no,
Like,
they're gonna have to make a trade for sure, I think. Um, but I don't know if this team right now has enough firepower to win the West. Like, forget about the finals. You got to go play a 7 game series against the Thunder right now. Yeah, good luck with that. Um, even like you still don't want to. I still think this team is scared of Denver in the playoffs, right? Because it's essentially the same team. Like, what has really changed? So
no
that's another
KCP.
thing. Yeah,
Oh, but they got Russ, so that's the
yeah, and
trade
Russ has
off.
been playing pretty well this year too. So I don't know. Like I still think they're one, maybe even 2 moves away from really saying like, yeah, we can compete um with the top dogs in the West. Like even Houston this year, they're a little bit scary. Like I'm sorry, I'm still not afraid of Memphis. I'm sorry. I know I think they have like the best offense in the league right now, or like they average almost the most points in the league
Yeah,
or something like that.
123 points a game.
Yeah, which is actually ridiculous that they're averaging that, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. And Dallas is always going to be there. Like they're with Clay now too. Like in a 7 game series, you're going against Luca, Kyrie, and Clay. Yeah, good luck with that. I don't care who you have on your team. Um, so I still think they need to make 1 or 2 more moves, Matt, and they'll be okay. But um, yeah, watching the Lakers and I like it. Like I think JJ is doing a good job so far, keeping them afloat and right in the thick of things. And that's just how the West is. I think that's how the West is going to be all year long, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. Just hoping for one more move. One more move would be nice. Yeah. Um. Okay. Well, I think I'm good on basketball, Matt. Unless you needed to
I
talk
think
about
so.
anything. Okay.
All we talk about is the Lakers.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, man. I don't watch any basketball outside of the Lakers. I don't know what's up with the game now. I think once football ends, we can really dive into basketball and be like,
Yeah, we always do
why
this.
aren't people
Yeah.
watching? So we will get into basketball. It's just peak playoff football, right around the corner now. So geared up for that. But there's a little bit of baseball news that we can discuss too, Matt. Both,
Yeah, your team.
yeah, affecting my team. So my prayers have been answered.
It's the tail.
Unfortunately, I know we lost Walker, but Teoscar Hernandez back on a 3 year deal. I don't hate it. 22-ish, I think, a year, which is not too bad, I would say. But I'm just glad, because how how much energy he brought, the excitement, the clutch hitting when we needed it throughout the playoffs, regular season, whatever it was. You saw it firsthand when he played the Yankees earlier in the season and then later in the World Series. Like he had some big hits. He had that big hit in game 5, right, to tie it up at 5 apiece in the Bronx. So like such a good piece and a fit, I think, for this Dodgers team. He wanted to be back. You could tell how much it meant to him in that, championship parade when he's in Dodger Stadium giving his speech and he's getting all teary eyed. Such a cool moment. And for him to be coming back in that, same kind of situation, I mean, I couldn't be happier. And now, we also have some help. We got Conforto out
Conforto.
there, right, to kind of help supplement and do a platoon kind of thing. So I still think the Dodgers are active in the market, but like that's a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. The only pieces now I would say I'm looking at is if we can somehow find a way to keep Kike, I think that would be great. Just seeing how the versatility of guys that can play multiple positions helps in a deep playoff run. I think it's so beneficial to our team and how this club works now. And then I guess if I had to pick, um, obviously can always get more pitching with Walker going now. Roki it's starting to heat up, taking some more meetings now. Um, and then I still want Tanner Scott. I know you want
Oh,
Tanner
me
Scott.
too.
I
That's
know. I
like,
think every team wants
please.
Tanner Scott, but the Dodgers really need a lefty arm
So do the
in the pen. Like we got, I think it's just Vesia, and I don't know. I don't even
Yeah,
know
we don't have
Bonda's
Yankees don't have any. We don't have
situation.
any lefties.
So okay,
Literally none.
I guess both of our teams desperately need a lefty, but I'm I'm praying like if we get Roki, that'll just be like a cherry on top at that point. But honestly, I don't know. I don't want to say I'd rather have Tanner Scott just because we got the pitching arms, right? We got some guys there. I mean, as we saw last year, need all the arms the Dodgers can get. Somehow with all the stars we had, we're only rolling three deep in the in the playoffs. But
Hey,
I trust,
that's a good trade. That's a good thing you brought up. If you get Tanner Scott, then we get Roki.
and then vice versa, vice versa. Okay,
Sure.
yeah,
Fair. Fair enough.
yeah. As long as they don't go to like the Mets. I don't want anyone else going to
Oh
the Mets
god.
already. Like they're done, right? They can pick up a few other guys, but like they're done with the big names. I hope. So I don't know. We'll
Or
we'll have to see.
Roki signs with the Mets and he turns into like Senga.
Yeah, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Like Roki just looks crazy, but yeah. Anyway,
Steve
like
Cohen though, he's gonna just pay whatever he wants
oh
though.
yeah, he's not afraid of spending money. Which is what you
Clearly.
want out of your owners, I would say. But yeah, Matt. The other piece though, Corbin Burns gets out of your division. Unfortunately, into mine's. Uh, not good for me because the Diamondbacks are like that sneaky, scary team. Like the Padres obviously are the big threat on paper, the names that they have and the season that they had last year, right? But can't rule out Arizona. Made it all the way to the World Series 2 years ago. So yeah, there's still that same young, talented ball club that just kind of had an off year. And what were they like a half game or one game out from the playoffs last year too? So
Hmm. They're right there.
they're gonna be right there again. And I think now you add Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, like that's a scary 1-2 punch that they have,
Mhm.
and their bats can get hot at any time. They play the small ball, they got speed on the bases, so they're gonna be another scary team out west. I think it'll probably end up being another three teams. I mean, shoot, who knows? Maybe even four with Buster Posey running the Giants now. I'm sorry, Colorado. Yes, I am counting you out. But yeah, you never know with these divisional rivals. But yeah, Arizona, that was a sneaky good sign from them because I thought he was going to stay in the American League. So when I saw that he's going to the Diamondbacks, I'm like, oh no. Like when you texted me, I was like, oh, that's like the last thing I wanted to see. But um,
I think that's a good signing for them too, like the contract, because I think he has an opt out after 2 years. So it's like, well, I mean, they're not tied to him long term, but a 2 year run potentially with Corbin Burns anchoring your rotation with Zach Allen. That's why not take your chance right there with that punch. So I don't know if he opts in. The max free contract looks pretty good compared to that. I will say in terms of AAV
Yep.
because I think it was like 6 for 210 versus Max Freed is like 8 for 210 or some I don't know something around there 212 maybe. So pretty good. Yeah, Max Freed contract looks not bad right
Yeah.
now. I will say right now
Hmm.
that'll that'll quickly change. I change my opinions very quickly. But yeah,
No.
Diamondbacks, man, that's a good signing.
Yep.
Glad he's the Orioles, man. Just make them weaker.
No. Okay. Well, I think we ran through a pretty good um, you know, helping of sports today. So why don't we round out our pod in the usual way, Matt? We'll get to our quick hitters. So Jerry Jones Award.
Okay, well, I got two for this one, so both in the football world, but I'll start off with the team. I could put the Colts in there, same category, but
You definitely
I'm
could
gonna
put
go
the
with the
Colts in there.
Giants. Uh, could put the Colts in there. I mean, you lose to the Giants, but the New York Giants, out of all times to play probably your best game of the season, look fantastic. Just long term picture. I mean, they just might have lost out on their chances for their next franchise quarterback. So RIP, kind of bad timing there to turn it on. But the other one, even I would say more of an actual Jerry Jones Award winner, but probably I have to go with Raheem Morris. We talked about it earlier with the clock management. It just seems like one of my biggest pet peeves in football is clock management. It feels like, and the lack of timeouts, not calling it, basically costing your team a chance to control your berth to the playoffs to win the division, and with that mistake, potentially letting it slip away. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Raheem Morris for the Jerry Jones Award winner this week.
Hmm. Okay. Well, it's funny that those are your Jerry Jones guys because I have first of all, well, first I gotta give love to Tyler Huntley. Um, like just balled out, Matt. Um, oh, you're a little frozen on my screen, but okay, you're back. Um,
Oh, that's okay.
that's okay. I'll make it fast.
Yeah.
Tyler Huntley balled out, much improved since those earlier stints when he was starting. Um, so got to give him some love. But Drew Lock himself like I said, he put his backpack on, helped out the Dolphins, helped out the Bengals. More so the Dolphins though that I'm happy about. But yeah, just the fact that he was able to put up 5 touchdowns against the Colts, especially with how he's looked this year, like gotta love it. Gotta salute him for that, Matt. So that's my fan tributes for the week. But I kind of know what our sports fact of the day is gonna be. So obviously excited for it. But yeah, why don't you give me it?
Yeah, so actually I had two, so I'll go both because I think both of them are pretty good. But the first one, we're recording obviously December 30th, and I'll go back to 2020 for the first one. But at the time, San Antonio assistant Becky Hammond became the first female coach, or first female to coach an NBA game after Coach Pop got ejected. So shout out Becky Hammond, doing great things in the WNBA with the Aces. And second, and last but not least, December 30th is always a big day because King James, happy birthday to you, my man.
Oh yeah,
He's
it's the goat's
40 years
birthday,
old.
and he's
40
still
years old.
one
Go
of the best
James.
players in the league. Somehow, some
Yep.
way.
In year 22.
We're 22,
No
40 years
words. I mean,
old.
he's definitely my favorite player.
Yeah,
in basketball.
it's funny because like the
Crazy.
NBA released their like his top 40 plays or something for his 40th birthday, and it's crazy how many iconic plays he has. Like
Yep.
it's actually crazy to look back and see how many, you know, big shots, big blocks, big dunks. You know how like it's still crazy because I've watched him so much more recent or like watch him recently, right? And don't get me wrong, he's still a freight train when he's going downhill, but flashing back to those like Cleveland or early Miami days, or even like his second stint with Cleveland, how athletic he was and what a force he was, like just so crazy to look back. And he's still a top, arguably the top 10 player in the league. But yeah, man, looking back at those some of those dunks and like how he used to move on the basketball court, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
I think, with him being in year 22, I mean, the end, it's close to the end for his career, but it's like, man, it's going to feel like Tom Brady's retirement was just a little weird. Like, it's just kind of like, oh, well, he kind of out of the blue, not too dramatic, but it's going to be like, I feel like when Kobe retired, and I
oh yeah,
wasn't, Kobe Bryant was, it wasn't my favorite player, but like
that
I
was
can
sad. I mean,
understand, like if you're a Kobe fan, like you're bawling your eyes out, like, and his last game was just ridiculous. But
yeah.
for me, this is LeBron. Like this is my favorite player. So whenever that time comes, I mean, I know it's gonna happen eventually. Man,
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know a world
I don't know what
without
the
LeBron
league is
James in
gonna
the
do,
NBA.
man.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean, 22 years in the NBA. That's like basically our entire life.
yeah.
He was playing in the
Like he
NBA.
was playing before I
So
even started watching professional basketball. So
yeah, so it's like I don't know a world without LeBron James playing
yeah,
basketball.
that's
So
fair. That's true. That is a crazy
yeah,
thing to think about.
probably one of the only athletes too that's like he exceeded expectations, and the expectations he had was, I mean, they called him the chosen one, and somehow he exceeded expectations, which
Yeah,
is I don't even know how you do that.
yeah. So ridiculous.
Crazy.
Um,
Shout out, Coach James. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to the GOAT, man. Yeah. Well, with that being said, Matt, this is officially our last podcast of 2024 that we're gonna do. Um, we had a good year, but we're right in the thick of things as usual around this time of year. But um, yeah, it we'll wrap it up here. So guys, I know it's New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Please everyone be safe with the partying and the fireworks and whatever you're gonna do. Like, let's all have a good time, but just want everyone to be safe this week. So we're going into the new year on a good note, right? But yeah, thank you guys as usual for watching and listening, or however you interact with us. We're gonna keep going strong into the new year. So yeah, we'll call it here, guys. Thank you. Like I said, have a good one, and I guess we'll see you next year.